What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one I want to provide you guys with a very important warning about the overall market. I want to talk about SPY, Tesla, Nvda, Aapl, and a couple of other tickers. Talk about Apple's event that's coming out, and give you guys a very important warning about tomorrow because we have something big dropping. But before I do anything like this, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends in just about 2 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market and the charts. All right, so starting off, I just wanted to mention that when it comes to the way that SPY has been moving, this thing got very sideways price action for today. We had a bit of a pop near open, a slight sell-off as the time went on before getting a bounce. So very sideways, very much not doing anything too crazy. And the same thing could be said about most stocks out there. We did see Apple sell off a bit, though, approaching the big event. So I want to talk about this first before I talk about the charts and also my warning for tomorrow. So the Apple event's about to start at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time for today, or 1 o'clock p.m. New York time or Eastern Standard Time. We have this big event, and this is going to cause some high volatility for Apple. So Apple's going to make a big move. And when Apple ends up making this move, it's going to have a big effect on the whole market. That's why it's very important to be watching this and paying very close attention. Now, regardless of what happens, if we get some crazy pump, if the market dumps, it doesn't matter that much to me because you have to remember that holding anything overnight is quite risky. Could you do it if you want? Sure, it's your choice, but there are some risks involved because we have CPI coming out. Tomorrow, CPI comes out 1 hour before the market opens. That's important because you can't really exit your position between now and the time it comes out if you hold through the close. So that's very important. The last chance for you to exit positions for most retail, especially on the option side, is going to be today. So be very careful. If you want to hold something overnight, that's your choice. Now, we're expecting an increase in inflation year over year. We're expecting it to go up. The forecast is around 3.5 to 3.6%. Anything at 3.7% or higher is going to cause the market to get rug pulled. If core CPI is 4.5% or higher, it's going to cause the market to drop. Otherwise, it could cause either sideways price action or even some upside depending on where it's at. So overall, this is going to be a big report. This is going to likely lead to a massive move, most likely. And if you want to hold overnight, it's your choice. If you're feeling kind of like uncomfortable to do so, that's also on you. All right. So hopefully this is helpful. Now let's talk about some charts very quickly before I break down how things are looking. So looking at the charts, we're going to start off with SPY. We're about to get a bullish cross on the 30 minutes PPO, meaning this thing is it's making an attempt to try to push up towards this high right here. But the problem is this doesn't matter as much because when Apple's event starts, there's no telling what's going to happen to Apple. Apple could be announcing some big things. It may or may not. So we might see SPY possibly push up to about 448.5, or we could get a rug pull and fill this gap down here. I think we came close to filling it. We haven't fully filled it, but this gap is all the way down to 445. So it could also get a rug pull. We don't know what's going to happen with Apple. Now, with the event, don't forget that's not going to be the real move or the big move for the next 2 days. Yes, this could cause some high volatility, but tomorrow morning, we're going to see even more, most likely, depending on CPI. So if we get a decent CPI, SPY has the potential to start pushing to 450 plus if CPI is lower than expected. And we have this gap at 456 on SPY that could end up getting filled. There's a gap all the way up here that could get filled if we get a good CPI. If it's a bad CPI, there's this gap down here around this 440 area that could get filled. So it's going to make a big move. We're going to be watching to see which way it goes and be ready for CPI for tomorrow. And then don't forget that Apple's going to cause more volatility for its event. For Apple, okay, we have two important levels. If Apple gets rug pulled, it could crash down to like 170 or lower into the 160s. If we get a bounce, we have the potential to fill this gap all the way up to 182 plus, and we could see Apple start pushing. I'm in the middle. The daily technicals are looking a little bit weak on Apple, but I'm always open-minded. You never know what's going to happen. Historically, Apple does tend to sell off after big events, but it's already been selling off for the last 2 days. So you never know, guys. Just want to be open-minded, and we will see what happens with the big event. Currently, we're going to be watching 176.5 as support, and then 177 is acting as resistance. We're kind of stuck between that range. We've been going back and forth for quite a while on Aapl. We're down about 1.3%, trying to rebound a little bit off this 176.4 support. And overall, it's looking like it's going to make an attempt to try to get back to the 177.5 area if we break 177. Still fighting 177 right now, and we're probably going to do so approaching the big event. But we'll see what move Aapl makes. We'll see if Aapl could make a full recovery and start pushing into the green. It all depends on what's announced. If Aapl announces a new product or something that's AI related, who knows? Be very careful though. If you're going to scalp this, right? Be careful holding anything overnight. You never know what CPI is going to cause. If you want to, you could, but that's your own choice. But we're going to be watching to see if Apple could push back to the 180s or if Apple gets a tank all the way down to 170. For Tesla, we're going to be watching to see. It's currently looking bearish. It's looking weak right now. 268 is the major support it's approaching. But here's the thing, even though Tesla's at support, the real question is how is it going to react to the big news that we are seeing? If Tesla gets a bounce, if we get some good news from Aapl and the whole market bounces, this thing could push back to 275. Also, after CPI, if it's a good CPI, we could also go back to that level. If we get some bad news, if Tesla keeps tanking, it is looking weak so far. If Aapl continues to sink the markets, we could see Tesla tank towards 266 or even below that. And if CPI is hotter than expected at the levels I mentioned earlier, we could see Tesla sink even more. So those are two big factors, Aapl and CPI. Apple's event and CPI, we'll be watching that very carefully. Nvidia looks very sideways. It's just getting very tight. We're expecting a big move either thanks to Aapl or by tomorrow because of CPI. A good CPI is going to launch this thing towards 460 plus to 465 and maybe fill the gap at 470. And then if we get a bad CPI, we're going to see this thing likely get rug pulled all the way back down to the 430s. So we want to be open-minded on Nvidia. It's kind of sideways right now, not looking the best, very, very flat, very sideways. We'll have to wait and see how it looks. We will see if Nvidia starts to slow down or not. Make sure you watch 450 and 448 as some critical levels. Apple's going to cause some volatility, not to mention the very important report coming out for tomorrow for CPI. Anyways, let's just go over just a few more before I end the video because the event's about to start. For the QQQ, this is kind of flat right now. It's a little bit weak thanks to Tesla and Aapl. If it bounces and we get a nice push, we're going to be watching 375. If we get a really, really nice push thanks to the reports that come out tomorrow or etc., there's this imbalance right here on like 376 that could get filled. But like I said before, we could see a very nice push towards 380 plus by tomorrow after CPI. If we get a good CPI, if we get a bad CPI, it's going to tank towards 369 or so, or even below that. Okay, so hopefully this video was helpful. I hope this video gave you guys more insights on what's going on with the markets. Apple's event's about to start. I'm very excited to see what Aapl announces. And last but not least, let's not forget about CPI. So do what you have to do, manage risks, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.